There was once an old man named Chin. Chin had hurt his leg as a young man, but luckily for him, he had two fine young sons who every day would walk the quarter-mile through the forest paths to Chin's rice paddies and vegetable gardens. Instead of working, Chin would come out, sit upon his porch to watch the world go by. But one morning, as he was seated there, a strange wind blew past his porch, and it disturbed the mist that still hung in the little space beneath the bridge that led across the stream to the village. And all at once, from that cloud of mist, a man came running out and said, "Chin! Chin!" Chin leaned on his cane. "What?" "Chin, last night 2 panthers came. They killed him and they took his skin. It is horrible. You close your doors, bolt your windows, there are panthers from the forest." And the frightened man ran further down the road. Chin thought, "Ah!" And he ran inside his house and he slammed his door and he pushed a sack of rice in front of it and he sat there in his chair. "Panthers have come from the forest." Nothing happened to Chin that day. But the next morning, as he sat upon his porch, that same strange wind swept past him, disturbed the mist once again, and a second man ran out of the mist. "Chin!" "What?" "Chin, the panthers! They've come again! Close your doors, bolt your windows!" And the man ran further down the road. Chin thought, "Ah!" and closed his door and pushed a sack of rice in front of it. Once again he thought, "Oh, the panthers have come again." Nothing happened to Chin that day either. But a third dawn came, and with it a third corpse. A fourth dawn, another grisly discovery. A fifth dawn, yet another killing. A sixth dawn, the village was in utter terror, because even if they locked their houses, it seemed as if they were human beings. These two giant panthers could gain entry to a house, lift a latch, slide a slider, jiggle a lock, come in and kill a man, and leave everything except his skin. But it was upon the 7th morning. No man came running from the mist. An 8th day passed, and then 2 weeks, 3 weeks. The villagers assumed that the marauding panthers had moved on. Even Chin took to coming out upon his porch once again to watch the world go by. One morning, a man who Chin had never liked in the village, and this man had never liked Chin, strode past his porch and said, "Chin, your sons are lazy." He leaned on his cane. "No, my sons always do their work. Your sons are lazy. Your fields are full of weeds. Your sons are lazy." Chin, as the man walked away, thought, "What? My sons always do their work." And so he hadn't been down the path in years, but he took his cane and painfully he hobbled that quarter-mile through the forest until he came to his fields and his rice paddies, and there, filling his entire pond of rice, were scums of duckweed choking out his plants, and vines covered all his beans. And he said, "Where are my sons? Where?" There was was when he saw two shadows far across the fields. Something convinced the old man to hide behind a tree and watch. It was then that he saw his two young sons walk out into the sunlight. They looked at one another. They looked around. And then they fell down to all fours. And suddenly, out of their hands came claws, and out of their faces came fur, and whipping behind them were two huge tails, and they looked at one another and bounded off into the forest. Chin saw this. Then as fast as he could, he hobbled back through the forest up onto his porch and slammed his door and pushed the sack of rice in front of it, and he sat down in terror. My sons are on the papers! How can this be? Why, he'd held them both as babies. He'd watched them grow to be this tall enough to lie, tall enough to know better than to lie. And they had always loved him, and he had always loved them. Yet through what awful enchantment they were becoming these panthers and killing people, Chin could not say. All he suddenly remembered was that upon the 6 nights when the men of the village had died and lost their skins, his sons had come home very late. On that day, barricaded in his house, he sat upon his chair. He piled furniture against his windows, and as dusk began to fall, and the shadows of the trees across from his home lengthened slowly and dissolved into dusk, he heard footsteps on his porch. Father, let us in. No, I saw you in the fields. You're the Panthers. I saw you. All at once, outside his door, he heard horrible noises, and then, Father, let us in. No. And he heard the two huge cats leave his porch, and he could sense them moving around his house, looking for a way in. And he ran to one window, and there appeared one of the faces, and he pushed more furniture in front of it, and then spun back around. Go away! Father! Tomorrow night, we must come for you. Look in our pants by the door, Father. Trembling, the old man got up and walked to where the wooden pegs held his son's pants, and he fished down into the pockets until in the last one he found something. It was a strip of rice paper, and written on it in the order in which they had perished were the 6 men of the village. And then Chin read the 7th name. It was his. No! You would kill your own father? Tomorrow night we will come for you. Wear 2 jackets and 2 pairs of pants, Father. And when we come, you must let us in. And it seemed that their cries vanished into the night. All that day, Chin wondered what he should do. He wondered why they wanted 2 jackets and 2 pairs of pants. Perhaps after they had killed him and they needed to return to human form, they would need to wear such things. He did not know. All he knew was that he had held them as babies, and they had always loved him. And so, that night, as the shadows lengthened across the road, outside his house, and he heard, "Father, let us in!" And the old man got up. "Yes, yes." And he pulled away the heavy sack of rice and went to his door, began to undo the latches, and suddenly it swung and banged against the wall. And there were his two sons, but no longer they were the giant panthers, their eyes flaming. And the old man backed away. "No, no." And the first one jumped upon him and began to tear at his shoulders and tear at his arms, and it pulled him around in a circle. Ah! And it left him spinning upon his floor. But then the other one, it attacked him again, and it started ripping at his legs and tearing him around and dragging him around his house until it too left him spinning on the floor, until finally Chin stopped spinning. There was no blood. I am not hurt." And there in the door were the two panthers, one with a jacket in its jaws, and the other with a pair of pants. The old man looked into their eyes to try to see his missing sons, but he saw nothing but animal. And they turned and disappeared into the night. Well, never again in the village were the sons of Chin seen. But then again, no marauding panthers followed them. And so, even though commanded by heaven to take the skins of 7 men of the village, the sons in the end were able to take not their father's life, but only a set of clothes.